Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Tech Tactics Live. This is episode 87. Tonight, we're going to be talking about state of the market after the recent Florida auctions. Before I introduce our guests for tonight, I want to make sure I thank Pirelli. Without their sponsorship, none of this would happen. And of course, if you're enjoying the episode, you want to stay in tune with what's going on in the Porsche world or in PCA, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. If you're watching us live tonight, we have the chat feature in which you can post up your questions, and we will certainly ask our guests to try to address them. As I said, we're looking forward to getting close to 100,000 subscribers. Currently, we're around 87. So with your support, we'll get a little bit closer. So with that, let's jump right into it. I would like to introduce our guest today, PCA member, third generation PCA member, part of the 2020 Family of the Year in PCA, the Miller family, and also, more importantly, the publisher of Stuttgart Market Letter, David Whitlock. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, thank you for having me.
So we met a few years ago, but more recently we were hanging out at Tech Tactics East in Easton, Pennsylvania, which I believe that's where you're from.
Great event, yes.
Let's, before we talk about how you got here, let's let our viewers see the agenda for tonight. What is Stuttgart Market Letter? What's the direction in which the Porsche market is headed in 2024? Interesting Porsches that sold at Amelia as well as Moda, the auctions that went on, as Gooding,
Bonham,
and
Broad Arrow.
And Broad Arrow. So all the different auctions in Florida last week. And which models to buy, hold, and sell. People are definitely going to want to hear that one. And more than likely, they're going to ask about their car, which is just fine. That's what we're encouraging you to do if you're watching tonight. If you have a question about your car, we won't get to all of them, but we'll try to get to most of them. So with that, David, how did you end up here with us?
Was talking to Manny at Tech Tactics, was it last 2 weekends ago? Mm-hmm. Friend of mine was one of the presenters. Lee from Mecum.
Shout out to Lee from Mecum.
Yeah, from Mecum. And he mentioned Stuttgart Market Letter in his presentation, and just that happened the conversation. I let him know, hey, I'm going to be down at Amelia Island, going to all the auctions. I cover the auctions in my Stuttgart Market Letter. So he's like, oh, you're going to be in Maryland anytime after? I was like, yeah, 2 days after. So it was very, very well planned to be here.
Now, we spent a little bit of time before the show tonight, and you've been that kid and teenager and early young adult that's always been around cars and around the prices of cars. So this is a matter of, something, your passion.
I mean, yeah, I've been tracking prices for 30 years. As a kid in the back of my grandmother's car with my notepad, and I would write down every car I would see around Palm Beach with her, and I'd go home and read the DuPont registry to get prices, because that's all I had. Yeah. And I'd be like, oh, Grandma, I saw $7 million in cars today. And it just snowballed from there. My dad was like, oh, he'll grow out of it. Ended up sneaking into auctions when I was a teenager, just wanted to see where the magic happened, and just hooked ever since.
And you are around cars and manufacturers throughout the week, so to speak.
Absolutely. So I've been in the car business for about 20 years now. Everything from selling cars for Porsche, Flemington Porsche, New Jersey. Mm-hmm. Started my own dealership, managed other dealerships, and now I've gone through consulting the manufacturer's route.
Now, Stuttgart Market Letter has been around 2 years?
About 2 years now.
Okay. Yep. And it's a labor of love, I think.
It's a labor of love. I mean, it's a free newsletter I put out every day. It's been every day for almost 2 years. And it really just started with some emails back and forth with my dad. He was looking for a car to restore. So I'd be searching the auctions every day. Oh, how about this one? How about this one? And then other friends got involved. I was like, oh, I really like this. Let me see if I could kind of make it, a little bit more cohesive, something I could produce every day, something I'd want to produce every day. And it just kind of snowballed from there.
And what I like about it is it almost captures and archives your thought process at a certain given time. So after you do this for 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, you'll be able to go back and say, remember when we talked about the 996 in 2020, or talked about
how wrong I was with this one.
and how right I was with this other one. Like, that's going to be pretty cool. But for today's viewers, what will they get mostly out of joining the free newsletter, and how will they
It's just
stay?
a market snapshot every day. It's seeing every single Porsche that was sold, didn't sell, as well as my thoughts in the moment, of the market. What I've seen over the years of studying the market, and it's a 5-minute read. I get a lot of people that will email, oh yeah, it's the first thing I do when I wake up, over a cup of coffee.
Sure.
I'm reading Stuttgart Market Letter. I've met so many interesting people because of it. It's just been a wonderful experience, but I just love doing it.
And you're also around a lot of collectors, buyers and
Yes.
sellers.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So like I said, about 15, 20 years ago, I just sneak into RM Sotheby's. Now I'm sitting up in the front, a couple rows with some of the biggest collectors and talking to them, and they're like, oh, what do you think of this car? So it's been very cool.
Well, let's jump right into where we headed, because I think most of us will agree that prices and dealers with ADM and allocations, like, it's just been tight for the average person. Being able to get in your dream Porsche has been a pretty tough hurdle. What are you seeing so far after the auctions in Florida?
So overall, we saw the market peak, I'd say 2022. Since then, everything's been softening a little bit. And one of the things I've been waiting for these March auctions to happen and these first spring sales to happen is, are we going to go back to a seasonality that we used to have pre-COVID? Because we had that spike and there was no ebb and flow this season. And after Amelia, I saw a lot of cars do extremely well, and some cars just maintain that flat curve. So it has me thinking, okay, maybe that seasonality is back. But we also saw a lot of some cars that are just wonderful examples that are going to bring the best money.
And always will.
No matter, always will.
Always will.
Volume-wise, Amelia grew. Like I say, the Florida auctions grew overall over last year. So last year, the entire collector car market, 2024 sales for the Florida auctions were up, unit volume, dollar volume. Sell-through rate, which is the percentage of cars that sold, was a little bit lower for the overall market. For Porsche, specifically, sell-through rate stayed the same. We're about 78% of Porsches offered in Florida over the past weekend sold, but the unit volume and dollar volume were through the roof.
Through the roof.
Yep, through the roof.
I think Broad Arrow doubled the dollar volume, right?
The overall market doubled.
The overall market.
Yep, the overall offerings, we went from 13.9 million in 2023, just Porsches, to 28.9 million 2024. And a lot of it, there were 59 units 2023, 73 some odd units in 2024. So that's just a big jump. We also saw a lot of cars at the top end of the market, those $1 million plus cars. We saw more of them sell this time around too.
Really?
So that was really interesting to see.
So what do you attribute this to?
Just people are still out there buying, things have gotten softer. There were still some good deals, but like I said, a lot of the auctions brought some of the best. Like, so if you look at the 918 Spyders that we saw over the weekend, we had the one 918 Spyder, which for whatever reason was pulled from, I believe, if I remember correctly, the bottom sale. But then we had the other 918 Spyder do extremely well. So that car, let me just pull some data here real quick. That car is hammered for $3.2 million. That was at Gooding & Company.
Wow.
And that was a very special, one of only a handful of Spyders. Yes, they didn't make a lot of 19 Spyders.
918.
19. Then you whittle that down to PTS, And then you whittle that down even further to, it was like the Spyder package or Spyder group. They got extra special things. And we had that car at the white sale end of last year that did really well. And this
Right.
one was in that Gulf livery. So just a stunning example. And that really brought the money.
So how about on the, I guess, opposite end of the spectrum, where there's some cars that you thought were going to do very well, but was softer?
Oh.
And it was, and am I correct in guessing that when you say softer, it doesn't mean that the
floor is not falling, the sky is not
right.
falling.
I think it's just maybe a correction because the prices just went so high over the past couple of years. Now there's some correction.
Yeah, now there's some correction. I think I saw like the 356 market was a little disappointing to me. There were a number of very nice cars that either didn't sell or just didn't bring the money to where the market's been averaging over the last 6 months to a year. So that was a little bit soft. Some of the early 911s were a bit soft in my opinion. For example, we had a Continental Coupe, 1955. That car hammered, and this is without buyer's premium. That car hammered for $195, which is
2 years ago that car would have been
300.
300, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's still cars that have sold in the last 12 months in the $300,000 range.
So
that
was
was
that car bought well, or were there issues with the car?
I didn't look that one over.
Yeah.
I wish I could have spent more time looking at every single car.
Yeah,
over.
there's only so many.
There's only
you can
so much
cover.
you can do, but the fact that it was there, it means it was, a very well presented car. These auction companies go through the vehicles. They want to make sure these cars are, what they are, represented well. Their reputation's on the line.
Do you think that, for those of us that were at Amelia, certainly we're used to seeing all those auction houses all in one place. And when we changed the title to this episode to the Florida auctions, it's because clearly there was one auction that was not at Amelia, and that's RM. They were actually down in Miami. So with that split, do you think that affected the auctions?
I honestly don't think so.
Really?
So I was at Amelia last year. Went to both. I went to Gooding, RM, and Broad Arrow last year, and just tons of people bidding. So now we have RM who split off and are down in Miami now this year. And obviously I wasn't there. I can only be in one place.
Right.
But the Broad Arrow room was just absolutely packed on Saturday. I mean, standing room only, seats being pulled up around to the side, people going wherever you could fit people. There were tons of collectors that I know there, and they were there to buy.
Wow. Okay, let's take a few questions. Let's see, we have Steve Geldman asking about the cars that find themselves for sale with regards to resale value, stock versus aftermarket mods.
Okay. It depends.
Yeah.
So a lot of the value in the modifications are going to come from who did the mods. Are they a known tuner? Are they a tuner that people attribute value to? Like, does the car have roof modifications on it? Was it done either Roof Germany or back when Roof had the Dallas location even?
Right.
So that goes into it. Also, are the mods in line with today's taste?
Right.
So, some things in your pink wheels might not be everybody's cup of tea.
Right, because there was a time when, say, Ruby Star was out of favor,
Was that a favor?
But now it's back and back strong.
Yes.
But then it's a cycle, so yeah. Okay.
And typically, the rule of thumb is you never get the money you put into the modifications. Sometimes it can help the value.
Yeah.
But if you put $10,000 in mods, you're not getting dollar for dollar. It's 50 cents on the dollar. It really depends.
So we're talking about the market from your view from the auctions that happened in Florida. How about all the auctions that are going online, such as Bring a Trailer?
So, we've really seen that sell-through rate start to slide. And on Bring a Trailer,
Really?
Cars and Bid, all of them. Just
All of them.
all the market in general. And when you start to see that happening, I've then noticed that sellers start to adjust their expectations, start to adjust their reserves, and then that sell-through rate gets a little higher. The prices have come down a little bit. And again, a lot of the cars, it's not falling, completely Now
Yeah.
it's not getting crazy. Some cars are using value. Some cars are just coming back to reality. You know, you have cars that are new, and we're so used to new cars going up. You know, you're selling it for more than MSRP. That wasn't always the case. You know, we had that period where you had, you know, COVID millionaires. You had people that get free money. So that went into cars.
Yeah. So that brings up a good point. You know, we always talk about allocations and ADM for, let's say you wanted a GT3. You know, now you would be ecstatic if you could buy a GT3 at MSRP, because mostly you can't. Those people that bought, let's say 50,000 or more ADM on a GT3 a year or 2 years ago, putting those cars on the market today, how are they faring?
So that market is sliding downward. I mean, it's not dropping off a cliff, but you know, every sale we're getting lower highs, you know, lower lows. Things are just getting back to normal again. We have the new 992 launching here soon. After that comes a GT3. A lot of those 992.2 GT3 buyers are trading in their 992.1 GT3, so we're going to see more on the market. So that should push prices down on those a little bit more.
Now, how about the electrification side? You know, we're about to see the Macan E. Behind that's going to be the 718 Boxster Caymans that will be fully electric. Does that mean, because last of the last ICE versions of a Boxster Cayman,
I haven't seen that
price
bump yet,
Yeah.
but I do expect that to come.
You
know,
do
that's
expect
something
it.
that's something I've written about, you know, quite a bit. Like watching Boxster Spyders still get a little bit lower, GT4s, nothing drastic, but I'm waiting for, you know, the market to catch on. Like, this is it.
Yeah.
We're not going to have this car anymore, and it's a great car.
Yeah.
Like, you want one, buy one.
Buy one, exactly. Well, I think if any questions, let's see, let me take a look here. Thoughts on, from David, I think it's David Vallon. Thoughts on a 2012 C4 GTS Cab that only sold for, wow, 66,000 on BAT on March 5th. Now, I would just quickly looking, it's a cab, right? So in Europe, I think cabs can potentially command a premium because they're seen as more as luxurious. But I think in the States, cab get hurt by it, right? Now this one is also a GTS, which is a very, very you know, sought after series. But 66, I think that's a pretty smoking deal for that.
Yeah, and we haven't seen a ton of those sell. I mean, GTSs are rare. There's been 3 in the last few years. You know, we had the car that no-sailed on Bring a Trailer in August 2022 for $79,500. It might even be the same car, to be honest.
Oh, really?
Looks very, very, very similar. Let me look.
Huh.
No, okay, so this one sold. No, different cars, but both the same spec.
C4 GTS.
Yep.
Owned by a Marine, obviously. By the license plate.
Obviously. Yeah, great vanity plate. I only wish you could sell vanity plates here in the U.S. like you can overseas.
Yeah.
There's a market there. But it was slightly down from the last sale that we had. You know, average prices have been $68,900
Okay.
over the last 12 to 18 months on those cars.
And here's a point that Manny always brings up with when we talk about value. Because of the recent years, we've been so jaded to the fact that our cars have to make money.
Yeah.
That is not normal.
It's not normal.
That is not normal.
Memories are short.
A 2012 car that has retained its value in any other mark, for the most part, is unheard of.
Yeah.
So the fact that we expect that, we've been spoiled by it.
Oh, absolutely.
So we're talking about values and such, but at the end of the day, if you have the means to buy the car that you want, buy it, enjoy it, drive the heck out of it, or polish it till your heart's content if that's what your thing is. But don't focus so much on the value. I mean, at the end of the day, you're more than likely, because it's a Porsche and because of the quantity of cars, you're going to be fine when you decide to sell it. But between now and then, Don't sweat it. Just enjoy it.
You never know. You can't predict the future. You know, I'm reading tea leaves here.
Yeah.
You know, having fun with this. There's so many cars that I've sold over the years I wish I never sold.
Right.
I mean, it's like, oh, if I only knew then. You know, I thought I did well, but no, I left $100,000 on the table. Did I want to keep that car for 10 years?
Exactly.
So.
Exactly. And they forget the maintenance, the insurance, or they had to do a major service.
It adds up.
It all adds up. Here's a good question from Chuck Burrows. Do you think the long hood and 356 market is softening because people interested in those vehicles are aging out, beginning to sell, while current buyers are not interested in older cars? Before you answer that, I will say the 356 market, because I am chasing after my own 356, I can tell you, still very much interested, and the prices are still quite strong, at least for me.
Yeah, I mean, they're strong when you look back a number of years. And you also, so what I've seen too is you'll get a run on the cars and you'll see the best of the best sell. And that brings out everything else. And everything else, you know, doesn't look as good, and the price reflects it, and it looks like it's pulling it down a little bit. We're not saying that's what happened in the 356 market over the weekend, but you know, I sometimes go back and forth. I do agree that there is an older generation of buyer for that car, but I also see, you know, like it's cyclical. You get all of a sudden those new buyers who are new to Porsche. They're buying their new 911 for the first time. They're buying a Macan. Then they're like, oh, now I want a 911. And they start learning about the history. They become part of the Porsche club. Then they're like, oh, I want the last of the air cools. I want my 993. Or I want to go back to a 356. So as people start buying the new cars and then really getting into the weeds with Porsche's history, they buy the older cars. I mean, so many people that way.
Sure, absolutely, because there's so many that are still on the road. They come into the car, they come into the club, and they may only know the 991, 992, whatever they bought, but then they become exposed to, they go to a Concours, and all of a sudden they see a beautiful 356, they learn more about it, they get into the whole, it's analog thing, and really, I don't care how old you are, you look at a 356, it's beautiful. It's a piece of art, and the curves, and when you drive a 356, you just smile. It's just a cool thing, and regardless of the you know how fast it is or the horsepower.
It's a wonderful experience.
It's just it's a wonderful
completely different experience than your 992,
right.
911.
Right.
And people want to have those different experiences and see, you know, feel the history of Porsche.
Yeah. So, you know, is it softening? Perhaps.
Absolutely.
Perhaps.
Absolutely,
right?
it's softening. But is it going to keep on softening?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. I think we'll see it
personally.
come back up.
I don't want to say I wish it did because that sounds terrible.
Yeah,
but
right?
if it were to come down, then it would make me happy. Because
selfishly, I would love for it to tank.
Everybody wants, you know, a 964, a G body, or 356. Yeah, but anyways, it's. I think we will end up dreaming for that. So how about if we, hopefully, Robert is ready to talk about some specific Porsches that we saw at Amelia, and maybe do you want to call up a particular one?
Yeah, so one of the cars that I thought was interesting was that 906 Carrera.
The 906 Carrera, that was Bonham's?
Oh, so it was at RM Sotheby's, 1966. Okay. And what was interesting about this car, you know, it wasn't a works car, but it did have a really great history as a hill climb car.
Okay.
And it actually no-sailed on Bring a Trailer last year at a high bid of $2 million. And that's exactly what it hammered down at this year. Okay,
explain hammer down.
So you have the auctioneer, blah, 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 you know, 2 million, 2.1 million, sold 2.1. So that's the hammer price.
The hammer price. But then there's fees on top.
Then there's fees on top, so the buyer premium. So it varies auction to auction. When I write about the cars, I go with the hammer price just because I'm doing this at 4:30 in the morning, 5 a.m.
Right.
And it's tough to get those fees right away sometimes. It's very easy with the online auctions. You know, most of them are a flat fee after a certain price, which is great.
All right, so go ahead.
So I really wasn't surprised to see this car again at $2 million, but like that was the market for it. Like that's that was it.
That was it.
Yep.
So that car sold?
That car sold. Yep, that car sold for $2 million. A couple other ones, you know, the car I really want to take home
Yeah.
was at Broad Arrow, and that was the 914.6
Oh,
GT
yes,
Works car.
yes.
You know, what a wonderfully historic car. Ran at the Monte Carlo Rally. One of only like 17 or so works cars. So an opportunity to own something so very special. This car, it hammered at 1.1 million. It did not sell at that. It's being offered by Broad Arrow right now at, in my opinion, a very reasonable price. If I could, I would. If I had more champagne that day, I would.
Yeah.
Threw that bitter badge up.
Here's the thing that I learned. So you talk about the volume that these auctions do on the weekend. Now, there are some cars that obviously don't meet reserve and they quote unquote no sale, but the auction houses continue to try to sell those cars for the next couple of days. And if they do sell it the next couple of days, it's included in the totals for their auction weekend.
Oh yeah, as you know, as soon as something doesn't sell, the bidder assistants are working with the bidders in the room. They're working with the seller. They're working on the phones. They want to get that car sold. You know, for example, Lucybelle. You know, that car sold off the block. So that car, you know, hammered at 3.2.
Do we have a photo of Lucybelle? Because that one's pretty cool.
That was a great car.
718 RSK. That was, I think,
there she is.
That was at the center of the room.
Yes,
at Broad Arrow.
Right in the center. Beautiful, beautiful car, and it's been offered, you know, a number of times before. It sold a number of years ago, and then came back up for sale again 2 years ago. Then this time found a home. Wonderful, wonderful example. And you know what it sold for, I don't know. That information isn't published on the website or anything like that.
But you do know that it did sell.
It did sell
afterwards. Okay. And the interesting part about Lucybelle is, you know, many of you who are familiar with older Porsche race cars is they're typically silver, but this one is white with blue stripes to represent the U.S. racing colors. And it was actually painted at the track. Now, when they restored it in the same livery. They kind of used the same paint to give it the same texture. They even brought in an artist to paint the number 3, the number 7 with the brush marks. I mean, it is, all the details on that car it's just amazing.
It's such a cool car.
Yeah.
And it was great to see it in person.
It was a little sad to hear that it didn't sell, but these people are, you know, at the auctions, they're saying it happens and we'll sell it afterwards. Yeah. It's just a matter of like whatever that threshold was. It just didn't get there, but they took care of it.
Yep. And it could have sold for more than that hammer price.
It could have sold for more.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You know, a lot of times, you know, I see it a lot online because you have comment sections and something won't sell and everybody's like, oh, the market spoke, the market spoke. Not really. You know, there's a number of dealers that I know that will sell those cars offline for more than what the high bid was. Because that person wasn't in the room, they weren't available. They maybe needed more time to get financing in order. They had more questions about the car. You know, you're limited to that 7-day online auction. You know, how much of your buying process can you get done where you're comfortable bidding on that car in 7 days? Sometimes it's going to take you a little bit longer. But plenty of cars, even in the online world, sell after the fact. And another interesting thing about, you know, these legacy auctions is a lot of their business is private sales.
Yeah.
So, you know, I call up, you know, a friend of mine who is a bidder's assistant, you know, representative at one of the auctions. Say, hey, I'm looking for this. He gets on the phone in his network. He's going to find me that car and sell it to me privately. Or if I want to sell something, but I don't want to be in the spotlight. Yeah, I don't want all the auction hoopla.
Right.
I can offer it, you know, through private sale as well. So if you go on all these different websites,
I think
whether
more
it's
often than not, that's the way most people go, right? Like the private sales, and they quietly know about this car, and I wasn't planning to sell, but someone made me an offer.
And at the higher end, you really do see it there.
Yeah.
At the very high end, it's tough to sell a Spyder in the last few years, you know, at the auctions, but they are still transacting.
Yeah. Oh, let's take a question. Oh, this is someone very local to us. Paul wants to take, this is not personal at all. He just wants to take your take on the 987.2 Boxster Spyder, and I believe his neighbor would like to know about the Cayman R of 2012. What are your takes on those two cars?
I'm a big fan. I think they're great cars for the money right now.
They are. They are.
Especially
joking
the
aside,
Cayman
there's not going to be many like that anymore.
It's a good entry point, you know, to that GT-ish, Cayman GT-ish Boxster before we started getting the Spyders and GT4s, and just wonderful cars in their own regard.
Yeah, and I don't think Porsche often publishes the volume of their more modern cars, but you could be assured that those two cars are quite special, and they are fairly low volume cars.
And I'd say over the last 5 years, they've actually started creeping up a little bit. They've got a number of sales approaching the $70,000 mark, going over to the $80,000 recently for, this one was a modified with a 3.8 liter back in 2022. Again, 2022, market peak, we sold $90,000 for a handful of cars. But they've kind of come back down into that mid-60s, 70s average. And what a great car for that.
Absolutely.
A manual Cayman R.
Yeah, very much
100% wood drive.
Yeah. Here's another one from Bert Gregory. How about the market for 964s, C2s?
964 C2. So that's, at the Amelia auctions, the pack of cars that did extremely well were those 90s cars. A lot of 6-month highs, a lot of 12-month highs were had at that auction. So those did well. 70s cars did well. 964. So what was that? What was it? 964 C2.
C2. Yeah.
Let's see. I don't have this all in my head. Sometimes I have to check through it.
But he's got lots of data here. I'm peeking over on his laptop.
I have got spreadsheets on spreadsheets on spreadsheets. And yeah, so 964 C2 coupes, manuals, they've been doing well over the last 3 months. They've looked to have flattened out a little bit, averaging around 100K, but you're still seeing some very nice cars in that almost 150 range for a very, very solid car. So a couple comps to go by there. Bring a Trailer had 138. That car had 58,000 miles on it, beautiful white car. P-Car Market 163,991 for a really nice black example. Higher mileage, 89,000 miles isn't 2 miles, but that question about mods, extremely tasteful set of, I don't know if they're real BBSs or BBS lookalikes, but great looking car. Very nice stance on it. So in line with current trends.
Let's take a look at another car from Amelia.
So another car from Amelia Island. There was a beautiful signal yellow 911S Targa. Ooh. So 1973.
So a long time.
Lovely, lovely car. I thought it was gorgeous. That car hammered down at a final bid of 142.5. So in today's market, that hammer price plus the buyer's premium probably put it, it did well, $30,000, $40,000 over your average, but it definitely wasn't your average car. But interestingly enough, that car back in 2016, that exact car sold for 198.
Really?
Yep. So yes, that was a strong sale, but what a deal.
Wow.
On that car versus 2016.
And I wouldn't have thought that price was a price where it had dropped. I would have said that.
You would have said that had to have gone through the roof.
Yeah.
Yep. So, and it's the thing about Porsches too is there's so many of them. Some of the market are so nuanced for certain ones. That was one that I was really excited about. Another one. So Carrera GT market. Now I want to touch on that. The Carrera GT that was offered at Bonham's, that one no-sailed. What was it, $1.3 million or something like that? And after that sale, I was talking to a friend of mine. I was like, yeah, Carrera GTs, they have seemed to be a little on the softer side recently. You have the stop drive, so it's is that going to affect prices even more?
Right.
Everybody I know that has a Carrera GT is still driving them. But hey.
Yeah. I saw them going around Amelia.
Yes, I saw them going around Amelia. Yeah. 3 hours later, the Carrera GT at RM Sotheby's hammers down for $1.56 million. And it was a very nice car. It was basalt black with gray, had about 4,000 miles, didn't have luggage. I wasn't down there, so I couldn't go through any of the records or whatnot. And so I don't know if it had the $40,000 or whatever it is major service. That was a strong sale. That was probably the third highest price paid for a Carrera GT in the last 6 to 12 months, other than a 1,000 mile example that was all there, or a a yellow one, a Faience yellow car.
Oh.
So, PTS or rare color Carrera
Right.
GTs always go for more. So for that one to be up there in that regards, that was strong.
So we were talking a little bit about aftermarket per se, but what about these cars that are being recommissioned? A Carrera GT that's being recommissioned by Rahal or by Porsche.
Yep. Porsche Classic is
Porsche
doing
Classic.
those.
How does that change the price? I mean, because I'm sure that's not cheap to do.
Yeah, so you had the blue car that was sold at 75th anniversary, if I remember correctly, and that one did pretty well. And again, going on memory, it's about a year ago. That car, it was blue. It wasn't done by Porsche Classic though, and in looking at it, you could see like some little flaws in the paint and whatnot. It wasn't perfect. And that still did really well. I could only imagine what one of the Porsche Classic cars would go for. Like especially that first, it was oak green metallic maybe. That was a beautiful car. And then I would really be interested to see a Zagato come to market.
Right.
That would be something cool to see through auction. I think there's only 1 or 2, maybe 3 in the U.S.
Speaking of oak green metallic, did you see the 959? That was oak green metallic.
Yes, and that one was one of the reimagined by Canepa cars.
Right.
And those do really well. So I get what Bruce does is he takes the 959 and just makes it the better car that it really should have been, handling wise, engine wise, paints it, updates it a little bit more modern.
800 horsepower now out of a 959. That's
and
crazy.
Just what a car. That one sold for hammered for 2.8 million. And that puts it right in line with another Canepa example that sold last year at around 3 million.
What would have a equivalent quality 959 gone for?
Oh man, an equivalent 959. So you're probably looking like 1.5-ish, give or take a couple $100,000 for comfort.
Yeah.
Not a sport. I haven't seen a sport here in a little bit.
So definitely a premium too.
Definitely a premium. Yep, absolutely. And that's the premium you see on some of the tuners that they can bring. Roof for existence, those cars are bringing a premium right now. A real roof VIN W09 car, number of sales. I don't track that market as well as I do the normal Porsche market, just because they're so few and far between.
Right.
And they just always do well.
Right.
Like they do pretty strong. We had 2 singers over the weekend. One singer sold for just over $1 million, and then the other singer was down at RM. That one it got bid to 1.25 million, ended up not selling. And the singers, this car was literally finished in October of 2023, had something, like 25 miles
Delivery
since
miles.
it was done. So it was brand new. It wasn't the singer spec for me. And I don't know, that was still a strong price. So it was a 4-liter car, and other singers, they kind of started selling around the $1 million mark for a little bit. This one was bid 1.25. I personally think that was all the money for it. I think they're asking 135 right now for the car.
That one's a lot more subtle than most singers.
Other than the rims.
Yeah, other than the rims. Everything else is
From the back, from the front, then you get that side profile picture. They just do absolutely gorgeous cars. The other one was a C4. I saw that one at Goodyear Company. Beautiful, beautiful car.
Cool. So let's see, we want to get into the buy, hold, and sell. Are you good? Is there anything else that you want to talk with regards to Porsches at Amelia?
No, we can go into buy, hold,
All right,
sell, and
folks.
answer some more questions.
So here we go. We're going to get into which cars should you buy, which cars you should hold, and some that you might want to sell. And feel free to put in your questions in the live chat area.
Yep.
So let's go. Buy first.
All right, buy first. So this one, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention it. I talk about it all the time in the market letter. I'm hot for 996 40th anniversary cars. So you have a car that is a limited edition, 1963. It's numbered. It's very well spec'd with GT silver. It has the 18-inch Carrera 2 lightweight wheels. It just looks amazing, but it's not all looks. It has an X51 package. So to be able to get into a special limited X51 package car for mid to upper 40s, I think that's a buy in my opinion.
And that's the car that even came with like a luggage set as an option for that car.
There you go.
There you go. So all the things that
a lot of
the more high dollar cars have, the 40th anniversary car, and it's a handsome car.
Yeah, a lot of car for the money. I'm very partial to 996s. People would know that. So another buy. I would buy early 911 S Coupe in the dip right now. You know, they're low. I think they're too low. We had one recently, a Bring a Trailer. Last year, it didn't sell at a final bid of 215, ran again, didn't sell at a final bid of 180. You know, it's a nice original driver. They're only original once. Like I said, you get a lot of people who have bought the new cars, they want to go back to the old cars. A short wheelbase 911S is one of those old cars that people want to go back to. So with these in that, you know, upper $100,000 range, no, I think that is definitely a buy right now.
Wow. I've never driven a short wheelbase car. And this car looks, like you said, with the original and all the patina on the front end, that actually,
I like that.
People love that now.
Yep.
Like that's in vogue to show,
only
to have
original
a car,
ones.
to show that your car has a bit of patina. Very cool.
Well, in 2 years, you can come up to Easton for Tech Tactics, and we'll have a 1968 911S Targa for you to drive.
Oh,
so
that's
2 more years in restoration.
Okay. All right, you got another buy?
No, I'm going to go with hold.
Hold? Okay.
I'm going to go with hold.
All right.
I would hold late 997.2 turbo manuals. They have dipped slightly over the last 12 months. But there was a recent sale of like a 13,000 mile Atlas gray metallic car, and it did really well. You know, $135,000. It looks like they're coming back up, but I do think those are going to go even higher again. I think they will come back up, and just a wonderful example of a car you can't get.
And I have had the opportunity to drive one of those, and those are fun to drive and sort of just point and shoot, all the power, smooth delivery, good size.
Yeah.
I would agree with that one.
That's definitely a hold. You know, I was trying to think of other holds. That was a tough one. But just, you know, I see it a lot in the auctions. I see so many cars that are, single family owned since new, or 40 years with the same owner. Hold those cars.
Yeah.
Hold them for the kids. They don't want them now. They're going to want them down the road. I think you got to hold on to those family cars. That's just a little personal.
Before you go into the next one, since this next question from Chuck Bernstein, David, if you wanted to get into a late model 911 turbo, would your choices be at different price points? 75, 100K, 125, 150. You know, manual stopped after the 997.2.
Yeah, it would be by a 997.2 manual car, 2009, I believe. My buddy Jim from P-Car Market and I, we've had this conversation many times. I can't remember the exact year where it got the better interior but didn't get a few other options. It was like the prime year. Email me, Chuck. I know you've got it. I'll get the year on that one. But that's what I would buy. You know, sticking with the turbos, or a good solid low mileage 996 turbo. You know, on that lower end of the price point that he was talking about. You know, the Metzger engine, ridiculously solid cars. Find something in a very interesting color combination with decent options on it, and that car is gonna hold or rise over the years.
996 turbos for the money, bang for the buck.
Yep.
There's plenty. They're so fun. They're fast. Now, the hard thing is finding one for sale that's in good shape, and I think a lot of them are sale are PDK.
Yep, and they're also modified.
And modified.
So they good cars were going for $35,000 not too long ago.
Yeah.
Like 96 turbo. So a lot of them then
Not
got
anymore.
modified. Not anymore. Yeah. But again, with the modifications, you know, is it a Tech Art modified car? So that's like in period. Everybody wanted that Tech Art front bumper and whatnot. Right. So a little nostalgia there. But there's just not a ton of them that remained untouched. A lot of them were driven for a lot of miles, and you still see some of those high mileage cars still do pretty well. Yeah, and they can take it. They can take it all day long.
That's the thing, is I think the people that have those cars now, they're enjoying them.
They're enjoying driving.
And then they go, well, if I sell it, what am I going to get?
Yep.
And to get that kind of power, that kind of reliability, it's hard to fill that void once that's gone. We were talking about the 40th anniversary, and of course the 996 Turbo. And Tara Warner writes in, "Why are you partial to 996s?" I get that all the time.
It's my generation. So I started selling Porsches in 2000, end of 2004. So, it was that changeover between 996, 997, and it's just what I was kind of grew up in the Porsche world with.
Right.
I love 997s. I'd love to pick up a 997 .1 GT3 RS. I think that would be the ultimate, analog, smaller car for me. I like them all.
Yeah, you don't have to convince me. I have a 99. You know that. And to correct, Manny corrected me. I think I said PDK by accident when I was referring to the 996 Turbo. It's actually a Tiptronic.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Here's a question from Single Cab. What era GT3 would be the best value? One to drive, not baby.
Best value. I just go back to that 997 GT3 personally.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know if it's the best value. It's the one I'd want to drive.
Yeah.
It really is the one I'd want to drive. Best value GT3. I mean, this would probably go on one of my cells right now, but early 991.1 GT3s that had the engine, those warranties are coming up in the next year. It's been 10 years.
Oh man, you just made a bunch of people nervous.
It's been 10 years. I'm starting to see them slide down, but wait till that car gets below $100,000 and you can pick one up for 90.
Yeah.
I'll roll the dice.
Yeah.
I think Porsche should put a good new engine.
Honestly, I was surprised you weren't going to talk about the 996 GT3 because to me, I think that's still a tremendous value. I see a big future for that car because it's the original analog GT3.
Next 2 years, I can't wait to see the 996.1 GT3 start to come into the US. We're right there, 99, 2000, that 25-year mark. I hope the market people start bringing them to the US. I want to see kind of where that market falls. That's my favorite of the 996 GT3s.
We saw a couple of them in Monterey last year.
Did you really?
Yeah, I don't know how it ended up in the States, but they were here.
Around. I mean, we got to be right there on some of the early ones being built.
Yeah, I think they qualify.
Yeah, they qualify. I just haven't really seen them come to market. But that's a great car, the 996.2. Driven a few of them. It is great value for money, but you have those $100,000 plus right now. They have softened here a little bit. We had 2 cars recently in the last few weeks sell at about $105,000. So that was a decent buy on those 2 cars based on mileage and condition.
How about GT2 versus GT3?
Oh man, GT2 is my wife's car.
Oh yeah.
That's what she loves. She loves her GT2s.
Good taste.
Good taste. Value-wise, the 991 GT2 RSs, there's a lot of them available on the market. They kind of hold their price. We had, say which ones sold here. We had 2019 GT2 RS Club Sport that did really well, but Club Sports are extremely rare. And then that was about 2018 GT2 RS Weissach Broad Arrow. Average pricing's been $435. It hammered at $425, so plus fee, you're right back there at average. They've kind of been, holding steady. You see a lot of low mileage ones. The 2007, your 997 GT2, your 997 GT2 RSs, they're going up. 2008 GT2 sold $250. Where was that? At RM. Average pricing for those has been around $260, $265. We had a car over the last year sell for $417. The RSs, get more money.
Yeah.
So that car, a $325, was a year high sale that we saw at Gooding. So those are going up.
Now, do you think because a 992 GT2 is not necessarily going to happen, if it at some point doesn't happen, that's got to affect the last one?
Well, I mean, the fact that those are last manual cars.
Yeah.
those 997. So they're going to go up in value. Obviously they are.
Right.
But will we get a new GT2? I would assume so.
We've
might
got
not,
to, right?
We've got to.
It says it's just a part of the pecking order.
Yep.
Yeah.
But like, how much power is it going to have over the last one? It's got to be faster.
So
It's
the
got to
last
have more
one was
power.
what, 700 and
Yeah.
change?
How much do you need?
I mean,
I like 996 GT2s. I hate to go back. Sorry, Tara.
Yeah.
I went back to 996s again, but they didn't make that many of them.
Right.
And the price of those for the number of cars that they made, that seems like there's still room to grow in that market.
Okay. Here's some questions. This probably a 2-for-1 answer here. So Julio and John are asking about Caymans. Julio's asking about the 987.2 Cayman, the base model cars, which I'm a huge fan of. Any thoughts on those?
So 987 base model cars. So those they've been getting softer and softer. They used to be over $30,000, $35,000 for a really good one, even more consistently. Now they're under, even the S's. So I've been following the S market a little bit more closely. And so you have the bump down for just the base one. That's getting to be extremely, extremely attractive.
Yes.
For a car.
Very much
you're starting to get down to 25.
And
That's
the base
a lot.
model, we have Damon here in our office. He's a huge, he has one. He is a huge fan, and I've driven it. And those are that's a lot of car for the money. If you're bouncing around in between 20 and 30 for a good quality Cayman, yeah, that's a pretty hot deal.
Yeah, they've been holding steady, average 25 for a base 987.1 manual Cayman.
Let's see, any cells? You haven't talked about cells.
Cells, yes.
So here's where people might get your tissues ready.
If you have a low mileage 993 Targa, sell it now.
Really?
In like a very short period of time, these have just taken off. Like you look at a graph of 993 Targa prices, and it just goes like this.
Yeah.
Like to the moon. This one owner, 26,000 mile example, did extremely, extremely well. So let's say a few years ago, within a 3-year period, we had 2 cars, maybe, sell for over $100,000.
Right.
In the last 6 to 9 months, we've had 5 cars sell for over $150,000. Like that's a huge jump all of a sudden.
You think that's top of the market for that car?
I would think so. But, I mean, yes, it's a one-owner, low-mileage car. There was another great example that was sold. Jason, I'm going to butcher his last name, Castriota, is an automotive designer. He kind of did his custom version of that, and it did extremely well. But then there's been others that just keep on selling for these crazy numbers. I mean, Targas were always the last of the pecking order.
Right.
With the 993, 996, and 997 with that giant glass roof.
And some people looked at those roofs as a liability because if it gets misaligned or something happens to them, it's almost...
I don't see it.
Yeah.
I just don't see it. With the Targa, I love the side profile of it because it has it's a cabriolet body with the roof on top of it, so you have that little edge that comes down. I just think that's a beautiful detail. But I still don't see over $150,000 for a 993
Now here's the
Targa.
thing, a lot of these people that have these cars, they love their cars.
Yeah.
So even if they could sell it for 140, 150, the question is, what's going to fill that void with that kind of money?
Yep, very, very true.
Yeah. Interesting.
Got to buy something.
You got to buy something.
Yep.
Here's a funny one. Katie Beth Miller. Now I know your wife and her family are also. Your wife is also third generation Porsche PCA. Which car would you buy your own wife, or which car would your wife buy?
GT2.
GT2. Yeah.
Or a Fjord Green Metallic Macan GTS.
Ooh, that's a very cool pick.
Yes, if we could ever get PTS on a Macan GTS, that would be it.
Yeah.
That's what she wants.
Here's one from Tom Y. Not a lot of restored 944 comps. I think there's a reason.
Yeah, people just weren't putting the money into them because restoration. It costs a lot no matter what the car is.
Right.
So when you have the less expensive cars like a 944, 924, some of the transaxle cars, you're going to put $100,000, if not more, into a really good, high-quality restoration. You really have to love the car.
Right.
You know, if I had a car that was in the family and I wanted to keep it forever, absolutely I'd put the money into it. But if I wanted to put the money into it to make money, you know, that's a losing proposition.
Right.
Cars that
the
you
numbers
see,
don't make sense.
Yeah, the cars that you see doing really well, like 944 turbos, are the low mileage, really well preserved cars. Those are doing extremely well. You can't restore low mileage. You can't restore preserved original.
Right.
You know, but you know, as time goes on, maybe for some of the more special versions, like 968 was a turbo RS.
Right.
That's a very special, very limited 968.
Now we saw a 968 Cabriolet in Florida that did very well. Like
yeah, the Cabriolet did extremely well. It was a
I think like
beautiful,
60,000, 60,
Yep.
60 some thousand.
Yep, that one did extremely well. I'm trying to find it up here. I need a better search function. Yeah, it was above average. It was extreme. I mean, it was maritime blue, had the blue wheels. Just a gorgeous, gorgeous example. Yes, so hammered at 70,000 at RM.
Hammered at 70.
Yep. Average cab, stick cab, average 20 has been $25,000.
Right. That was big money for that car.
That was big money for that car. That was a new, 6-month, 12-month high.
Here's a good one for you from MW, and this car has been, I want to say, almost all the rage lately. The long-term outlook for a GT4 RS.
Long-term outlook for a GT4 RS. They are still going down. We had the one GT4 RS that sold over the weekend. It did pretty well. So the average price, has been like $219-ish. This one hammered at $220. So when you add fees, it's a little bit above average. But every time you see one come up for sale, they're just getting a little bit lower, and they're very, very, very spec dependent too.
Yeah.
So whether it has Y-stock package, whether it has the wheels, whether it be a PCCV, whatever, they're very spec dependent, color dependent, but they are softening. They're not dropping tremendously. Like you just see it getting lower, 5,000 here, 5,000 there. Same thing with the 992 GT3 market. It's kind of chunking down a little bit. But
how about we talked about the 914.6. Let's talk about race cars.
Yep.
How are they doing in the market?
Race cars are always a tougher sell, at auctions sometimes, especially the online auctions. They transact privately more than not. You have a lot of different dealers around the world who just specialize in race cars with history. You're going to look for cars that were, works cars or have Le Mans history, and then that pecking order goes down from there. So it's very, very nuanced. Having that 906 cell was great. We haven't seen, another one, especially so last year we had a 907K no sale, which was a big surprise. So it was a tough sale. So seeing that 906 cell, bids get close to, selling on that 914.6. It's only $100,000 away probably. So race cars are just tougher.
Do you dabble in, like, let's say, the cup car market? Not necessarily a cup car that has specific race history, but a club race, 996 cup car.
Sports, like that GT2 RS Club Sport, did really, really well. So that was a new high sale.
Super rare.
Yeah, super rare. As far as cup cars, again, if it's the older cup cars, so like it came from the Super Cup, those cars will do well. Race history, it also depends how hammered it was.
Right.
Was it painted? There was one recently, it was, going back in my memory bank here, it ended up being a Super Cup car that was then used like for promotion. So like finding that one car.
Right.
Like that's tough. Most of these cars are raced. They were raced hard.
Right.
So just finding a good example, they'll do well. I don't follow the market super, super close. I do like to check out race cars here and there, but they typically will go trade hands privately. And when you do see one come up for sale at the auction sites, look in the comments, because those guys will come out of the woodworks.
They'll tell you.
They'll say, yeah, this one sold,
They'll tell
this
you
one
mostly
sold.
what you need to know. Yeah.
Yep. You'll
All
learn
right.
a lot there.
Top of the hour. Any last parting words with regards to the market for 2024?
Sorry if we didn't get to all your questions. Feel free to subscribe to the newsletter, but you can just reply to the newsletter with a question. It's that easy to get a hold of me. The market, I'm really looking forward to see how things look here over the next month or two going into the spring market.
So what's the next marker that you're going to be watching closely to see how the market's going?
So
what auctions?
New surprise sale. So end of next month, Broad Arrow is doing another Porsche only sale.
That's on the West Coast.
On the West Coast, in combination with the Air Water, the Lucybelle folks. So that was exciting to hear over the weekend. They have 2 cars online right now. They're building the catalog. You know, I'm sure 70, 75 cars, somewhere around there. I'm excited to see what those bring. Especially, you know, collectors will be out there for the show anyway. So it's a good move.
All right, so make sure you sign up for the Stuttgart Market Letter, and you'll be chiming in with your thoughts and logging. And thank you so much for joining us. A little bit of admin before we close out. Porsche Parade registration is open June 9th through 15th. We'll be in Birmingham, Alabama. Registration also for Treffin at Sea, Alaska is open. We have over 801 people signed up currently for our Alaska trip. That is July 28th through August 4th. For those of you that are interested and your cars are all packed away and you want to still get behind the wheel of your most favorite tracks, try out PCASimRacing.com. If you also want a companion while you're working out, maybe washing your car, driving to work, and you want some news on PCA or Porsche, check out PCA's podcast, Porsche Club Insider. We're there for you to have a listen. podcast.pca.org. And of course, if you own a Porsche, be sure you join PCA by heading over to our website, check out our YouTube channel. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We thank you for joining us tonight. Until next time, we'll see you down the road.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, David. Bye.